Hey guys, this is Danny McDaniel, and welcome to tonight's training call, which is actually called How to Hit the Mark in Advocare. And I got to tell you, I'm excited about hearing this call myself because we just got back from the Dominican Republic. And what I mean by we is about 250 people in our organization got back from a Family Freedom Leadership Conference just recently. In fact, just a few days ago. And actually, I've got two other people on the call with me tonight that were at the Dominican Republic with us. One is Hall of Fame distributor Jenny Donnelly, and the other is Emerald distributor Jeremy Bowen out of Chicago. And we're going to share some insights with you and some training tonight that I think is going to be really monumental in your Advocare journey. And really to kick that off, what I'm going to wind up doing is hand it over to Jenny because, Jenny did a training at the Dominican Republic last week that I sat there and took I took massive notes, but secondly, after the training was over, knowing what it did to me and knowing the things inside of me that began to be transformed, I could only guess what it was doing to everybody else in the room. And then the aftermath of it and the things that we were talking about the rest of the week about that particular training, the subject, the content, and how it transformed us, it made me think, I don't know if I've ever heard a more powerful training in my 17 years in Advocare. Now, you're not going to get all of that tonight because we'd be on the phone for an hour. But Jenny's going to give you an appetizer of that which occurred this past week, which no one but the 200 or so of us heard in the Dominican Republic. We're now unveiling to you, and Jenny's going to kick this call tonight off by teaching you guys how to hit the mark in Advocare. So, Jenny, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Danny. Well, I have some clarity, you guys, on just some questions I was asking. And one major question I was asking myself, after being in Advocare for 14 and a half years, I was asking, it's really interesting how people, and this includes me for sure, have something that we want to change, we want to stretch after, we want to, hit the mark. We want to hit a certain goal, and yet what in the world is going on with me when I'm not doing what I need to be doing, or I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not hitting these goals and these things that I really, really want. It's one of those things where you think, I think I'm trying to change, but I'm not changing. And so it was really a question I asked out of frustration. And I want to unfold this so that you get the same clarity I did. So I'm going to tell you a story, and it's not really about the story, but I want you to hear what I'm saying in the story. So a couple weeks ago, we were staying in a hotel, and I just got out of a doctor's appointment. Now I'm pregnant. Okay, so every woman listening to this call that's never been pregnant, you're going to be able to relate to this. But, especially being an Advocare, it's really odd to step on a scale at the doctor's office, and it just keeps going up and up. And it's just part of it, and it makes logical sense. Hello, I'm pregnant, My last 3 pregnancies, I actually gained about the same, 25 pounds with every single pregnancy. So I came back from this doctor's appointment, and I was getting dressed, and things are tight in places you're not pregnant. It's really so fun, when that happens. Obviously, I'm, being facetious. But I was thinking in my head, man, I really only want to gain 25 pounds with this baby again because I don't want to go through all the work of taking it off. And, of course, we have Advocare, but, I was really kind of locked in on that number 25. And it was just kind of frustrating me a little bit thinking inherently I knew deep down inside I really can't totally control that. I mean, your body's your body. It does what it wants to do when it's pregnant. And it's a sense of not feeling like you have a lot of control over your goal, okay? So kind of hang with me here. So all of a sudden it dawns on me. I'm sitting on the end. I'll never forget it. I was sitting on the end of this bed in this hotel, and it dawns on me, I can't control whether I gain 25 pounds or not, but here's the reality, is I have a lot of control. It's called my decisions that I make today. And all of a sudden I realized, who cares about the 25 pounds? I mean, that is the mark. That's in the center of my bullseye. But really what it comes down to is not getting fixated on, whether or not I'm going to hit that. What I'm going to lock my mind on is what I can do today, and that is decisions. And what all of a sudden hit me, Jenny, do the right thing. Well, what's the right thing if I have a bullseye of 25-pound weight gain? I can control whether I work out today, and I also can control what I put in my mouth with my own hand. And in that moment, it was just something that clicked, and it just made me realize I have so much control over this. Now, it might end up being 30 pounds. It might end up being 20 pounds. It might be 35, whatever, but it's not going to be 80 because I took power back in my decisions. And I realized in that moment, man, this is how I built Advocare. This concept with Advocare, it's always made sense to me because I can't totally control, whether I'm going to have somebody get to advisor. I'm not going to be able to control necessarily what pin level I'm going to hit in 3 months from now, although I'm going to set a goal. And I've always been goal-oriented. Bob and I have always set goals, and sometimes we've hit right in the center of the bullseye, and other times we hit way outside, and we're thinking, man, what happened? So then I asked myself this next question. Why do I sometimes hit right in the middle of this bullseye of my goal, and why do sometimes I keep hitting outside the bullseye? And, that can be really frustrating. And it came back to 2 different things that dawned on me. Number one, the decisions I make today. And the decisions I make today have to have a goal to be aimed at. So here's what I'm thinking. Okay, I think a lot of people think, well, why should I set a goal? Why should I make a bullseye for my life or my business? Because, I don't know if I can really control that. I can't control what people are going to do or not do in this business. Well, here's the thing. Your decisions today are always aimed somewhere. And that's why you and I set goals, because those decisions need a place to be aimed at. They become your bullseye. And so number one, Danny and everybody else listening, what we talked about in Dominican is you got to have a bullseye. You got to start making those circles and then the next ring and the next ring and say, okay, this is the bullseye of my business because what I do today needs to be aimed at this bullseye. Okay, so that's kind of the first, thing that I understood in life is I might not have power exactly when I hit a goal or if I hit a goal exactly where it's going to end up, but I do know this. I can control today. I can control whether I have a mixer today. I can control whether I sample somebody today. That's the control that I do have. So that's really, what hit me there. Now, it's going to have paper out because it's going to be, I'm going to build on what I just talked about. And on a piece of paper, I want you to put a bullseye out and draw a bullseye. You guys know, you know how to do that, right? Okay, so draw a bullseye, and in the very center, I'm going to use an example, and I'm going to use an example of weight loss because this is really easy for somebody to wrap their mind around in the concept. I'm trying to get you to have the same clarity I did, and I think we're unraveling it here. But put this down in front of yourself on paper. If you're driving, obviously that doesn't work, but if you have paper in front of you, something, write this down. The bullseye in the center is going to say 180 pounds. The next ring in the circle moving out would be 185, and then 190, and then 195. Okay, so there's 5 rings in this target, and the furthest away from the bullseye is 195. Well, let's say you have a person, or maybe it's yourself, and you weigh over 200 pounds. I don't care if it's 300, 400, whatever. That's irrelevant. But your goal, your ideal body weight, you're like, man, if I weighed 180 pounds, and let's say you're a man, and that is what's good for you, and that's where you feel the best, look the best, look your leanest, feel amazing, and that's like 180. That is my ideal number right there. And so you or the person we're talking about lose, let's say 50 pounds, and you hit 190. Okay, that arrow, you've made decisions every single day that cause you to hit about 190. Well, you sit at 190, and you're thinking, man, I really want to be 180. I have 10 more pounds to go. And we all know that person, or maybe it's ourselves, that it's like, okay, now we stay there for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, and it's still, the wanted last 10 pounds that seem to never go off. And you wonder, if my bullseye is 180, if that's the center, the little tiny center, and I came this far, why can't I hit the center? Same with, your business with hitting pins. Maybe you found a ruby, but you're like, man, what is the deal? I cannot seem to get to Ruby 6-star. It's just 3 more legs. I just got to do this again. What is going on here? I feel stuck. And it's that stuck feeling. And on your bullseye, I want you to write something down that I wrote down when this clarity came to me. And it's basically, I want you to draw a line around the edge of the 190. Okay, so just draw a line around that. And I'm calling that the line of intolerance. That's the level at which, let's just say it's a person that's gone through the process of losing weight. They've hit 190. This person, although they want to hit 180, truly, deep down inside, they're still very comfortable at 190. They've had a lot of progress, a lot of wins, a lot of victories. They feel good. They're not overweight anymore, really. But in order to lose that last 10 pounds, they can't tolerate 190 anymore. It has to become, I don't want to go another day at this weight. I'm not going another day without this weight. And now that line of intolerance has to move to the next circle in at 185. Okay, so that person moves it in and says, that's it. Now guess what? Their decisions, the arrows of decisions, I'm going to call them investments, the investment has to increase. They have to make higher investments than they made to hit 190. The investments have to go up. Here's an example. You go to let's say that they go to a restaurant, they order grilled chicken, and they always order, baked potato on the side. Okay? In order to get to 185, bigger investment is I'm having a side salad. I'm not doing baked potato anymore. Now, this call is not about food, and it's not about weight. It's about tolerance. And the question I want to ask everybody tonight is, have you been overly tolerant of the things that you actually want to change? And you and I will never change what we tolerate. If you've tolerated it and you have some sense of like, well, I really want this to change, but I'm kind of okay with it too, like deep down inside, you're the only person that knows. Your spouse doesn't know. Your best friend doesn't know. Your sponsor does not know what you're actually tolerating, but we can actually find out what we tolerate by what we're hitting. I have a certain amount of legs in my business that's in the center of my bullseye. It's a certain number of star legs, and the next ring is a certain number of star legs, a little less, and then it goes less and less. Well, I'm hitting a certain number right now, and I've wanted to hit that center bullseye, but I haven't been hitting it. Bob and I sat down, and I said, I want to hit this, closer to the bullseye. We're just tolerant. We're tolerant of where we've been hitting, and that's exactly right. Even though Bob and I want, to increase our business, we can't be tolerant of where we're at and change. Change comes with intolerance. And tolerance, actually, the definition of tolerance, and there's, several, obviously, but the one I like is the capacity to endure pain or hardship. So your line of intolerance moves closer to the center of the bullseye when you just go, well, there's not one more pay period that I'm going, I'm not going to go one more pay period with that same result in my business. I'm not. And Bob and I, back in 1999 when we said yes to Advocare, we loved the idea of what this business would do for our future, but I'm going to tell you what got me to move into action, put product in the back of my car and go, somebody's getting product today. I don't know who it is, but I'm selling product today. What got me to do that was I absolutely could not stand one more day of the life I was living. I mean, it was intolerant. It was like waking up and putting a pair of shoes that were too small on your feet on the wrong feet and then walking on nails during the day. Like I absolutely could not take another day of the life I was living. So Advocare became my target, Ruby. I was like, I got to get to Ruby. In fact, $10,000 a month was the center. And so it became really easy to make higher investments. I had to, sample a lot of people. I had to go to success school. I mean, they recommended we go to success school, and it wasn't a recommendation to me. It was I'm there. I'm absolutely there. So, we can take this teaching, Danny, and take it to every realm of life. Marriage. I have a marriage bullseye. And, my marriage bullseye back when I was 19 and 20 was anybody love me, please. It was one big circle with no bullseye to it, unfortunately. We're raising our kids very different than that. But it was, so I have some really sad relationships. But when I narrowed down this little tiny target that said, this is the person I'm looking for in life, and I'm not settling until I find this person, and then I had to make decisions around that. And then moving into a marriage that says, I don't want just a good marriage or a great marriage. I want an amazing marriage. So I had to change my investment. I had to talk to my husband differently. I had to say, please, thank you. You're welcome. What can I do to help you? I had to change me. I can't change Bob. I can't change how he responds to me, but to have the marriage I wanted, I had to make investments, high investments equal accuracy to the center of the bullseye. You make low investments, you start hitting outside the target or, at best, the last ring on the target. And so sometimes people in Advocare, I see they want to make the lowest investment possible and still hit the center of the bullseye, and they're still tolerant of all their situations, and yet they have these really high goals. And so we have to start matching up our investments, which are our decisions. We have to start matching up our level investment, how much investment we're willing to make emotionally, how much investment we're willing to make, not just financially, that comes with it too, but mostly emotional investments, time investments, those kinds of things, and then decrease our tolerance, and that equals accuracy. So, there's a lot to this, Danny. I know it's going to open up a lot of people thinking about, their life and different areas of life for sure. But I'll turn it back over to you so we can keep talking about this.
Well, that's great stuff, Jenny. And, as anybody, sits there and pictures, a target, just like what was on the promotional flyer, and just like people have already drawn up on their sheets of paper. Everybody knows how to draw up a target and visualize that. And, when I think about, those rings on that target and understand that there is always a ring of intolerance. And the bigger the ring of intolerance, the less success we have, obviously, because we allow the arrows to hit in a much broader place. And I want my arrow to hit the mark. I want my arrow to hit the heart if I'm aiming at an animal. Therefore, whatever goal I have in life, I want that arrow to hit right smack dab in the middle of the bullseye. So our whole life is dedicated to shrinking the ring of intolerance. And so that's all about setting goals and then shrinking that ring and understanding what, that we're not going to tolerate any arrow hitting outside of this ring right here. It's got to fit inside of this bullseye. And so this ties along in with the training I did that you even heard, I believe, back in 2009 or so. And I'm going to give people 4 quick bullet points just because I think you and I are probably going to start tag teaming on this training because there's so much to it. You guys really just got an appetizer tonight. Jenny's got so much more to add to this. Will just unlock major vision in your life. But I did a training called the 4 Stages of Desperation in 2009 at Success Goal, and I'm going to give you the 45 to 60 second version of that. There's 4 stages of desperation that'll cause someone to act. Number 1 is there's the awareness stage. People are aware they have a problem, or aware that things aren't going well, or aware they have needs. But that doesn't cause someone to change just because they're aware of it. Number 2, the second stage of desperation is embarrassment. They get to a point in life where they're really embarrassed. They're embarrassed about their situation, their financial situation, and they're embarrassed about their weight, embarrassed about different things. But that embarrassment doesn't cause someone to take action either. And number 3, the third stage, is the stage of frustration. And, you would think that frustration would cause someone to do something, but that doesn't either. You just sit around and you're frustrated that you're overweight, or frustrated that your business isn't working, or frustrated that you're not making enough money, or frustrated that, $1 million hasn't, dropped in your lap yet, and you hadn't gotten to go on Shark Tank with your new idea and got someone to give you $500,000 and invest in your business. The frustration doesn't do it. But the 4th stage of desperation is called intolerability, the level of intolerance. When anyone reaches that level in life where it's like the old Twisted Sister song from the 1980s, we're not going to take it anymore. When you realize you're not going to take it anymore, and whatever that means to you, there's got to be a point in life where you're not going to take it anymore and you're finally going to do something about it. You begin to shrink that ring around your target and hone in on the bullseye and accept nothing less. That's what we're talking about tonight. And so in order to transition here, here's how I want to even bring maybe a little bit greater perspective to you guys tonight as it relates to what could be coming down the pike in your life that can make such a big difference as it relates to Advocare. And it has to do with Success Goal. I believe right now, that each and every one of us have to get Success Goal right there in the middle of our bullseye. Why do I say this? Because one thing Jenny and I both know, me and Diane and Bob and Jenny, we know that Success Goal is the gauge for your paycheck. So whether you're brand new and you've never been to school, or whether you've been to 10 Success Goals, Success Goal always gauges your paycheck. Meaning, the more people you have getting to Success Goal with you, the bigger your paycheck grows. And as your Success Goal numbers grow, your paycheck grows accordingly. It has always been that way, and it will always work that way, and here's why. I'm a bow hunter. And so I didn't become a bow hunter until about 6 years ago. And one of my buddies took me to Bass Pro, and he helped me buy my first bow. And I remember spending several hours at Bass Pro that night watching this man, get my bow all ready. But the biggest part of the time that he spent was getting my new sight, getting that bow sighted in. And what was funny about it is when I went to the bow range and started practicing my bow with this brand new sight, I was hitting the bullseye consistently. And it was amazing that I was this brand new hunter and I could pull back and hit the target over and over and over again, but it was all about the sight. He had me sighted in. And that's how far we've come in the world of bow hunting. If you were an American Indian in the 1800s or the 1700s, or even a bow hunter in the 1950s, you'd have to have thousands upon thousands of reps with a bow to get accurate with that bow, because there was no sight. There was just a bow. You'd put the arrow on the, up on the ledge, and you'd pull the bow back, and you had to get really good at aiming and get steady with your hands. But today, and with modern-day bows, if you get a great bow with a great sight, you can become a master bow hunter very quickly. And I proved that by going out hunting and shooting deer instantly with my bow, shooting a turkey, my first turkey right through the heart with a bow on my very first shot that I ever shot at a turkey. And it was all because I was sighted in. And so, how does that relate to success goal? Well, if you've got success goal is to you, and it's analogous to the sight on a bow. You may have some big dreams, and you want to shoot all these arrows. You're talking to people. You're using your magazine. You're selling product. You're doing all these things, but you can't see. Your arrows are flying all over the place, missing the target sometimes, hitting on the outside of the target, but very, very rarely hitting the bullseye. And if you're very rarely hitting the bullseye, what may be happening is that you really haven't gotten sighted in. You really haven't captured the vision and gotten the keen insight and eyesight and vision necessary to walk back out away from Dallas, Texas, away from Success Goal, and have that vision and that sight to be able to go out into the marketplace now and make every arrow count, to be able to shoot strategically and accurately with every shot, every phone call, every conversation, every time you tell a story, every time you work the system. It starts at Success Goal. That's where you come and your bow, so you're the bow, you're the bow and you have the arrows. But Success Goal is where everybody gets sighted in, and Success Goal helps you compress time so you can become a master of what you do much quicker than the thousands and thousands of reps that it might have taken 20 years ago or 17 years ago like it did for me, or 14 and a half years ago like it did for Jenny. So right now, I want to transition to, Jeremy Bowen out in Chicago, because, Jeremy's from Texas. He's from small town Texas, where you got like one stop sign, one red light, and he's been a football coach. He's now retired at the age of 32, but he'll tell you that. But he's been a football coach up on the south side of Chicago, and he's got a great story as it relates to what we're talking about tonight, to help you guys understand that it's really about the next decision that you make that could change your life forever. Jeremy, it's all yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And wow, that's powerful. I would love getting to hear Jenny again. But my story with Advocare started about 19 months ago. And I always like to say, as I grow in Advocare, that Advocare really has two beginnings for me. But 19 months ago, my best friend, Keith O'Brien, had reached out to me about Advocare. He saw me. I was a single dad with 3 kids, baseball coach, football coach up there in Chicago. And, I didn't hate teaching, and I didn't hate affecting kids, and absolutely loved it. But what I was exhausted. I was tired with the daily grind of teaching, and then after school, and then summer school, and night school, and driver's ed, working 6 days a week, 52 weeks a year, yet trying to maintain my role as an active father with kids that play travel-based Pop Warner football. And he reached out to me at the right time, and 19 months ago he told me about Advocare at Spark and a 24-day challenge. And I jumped in very quickly, and within 4 months of Advocare, my purpose being able to be around my kids anymore, I was earning $1,000 a month with Advocare. And from about month 4 to month 10, I kind of just held steady with that. I held pace, and I was introducing it to people, not knowing exactly what to say or what to do, and feeling all the way up to Chicago, that looking for someplace to plug in. And then entered my second beginning with Advocare. My best friend, again, told me, and he'd always led me in the right direction as my sponsor and looking out for my family and I, and had told me I needed to get to Success School. To be quite frank, I wasn't sure what Success School was, and wondered what I'd learn any differently than what I'd learned on all the calls and the Impact Magazine and the training and the webinars and anything that I could get to. But I loaded my 3 kiddos up with the football season approaching and also Pop Warner season approaching for the kids, and we all missed a little bit of time. And, as a school teacher paying child support, only earning an extra $1,000 a month, which really wasn't extra, it was really helping at the time to cover some things. We loaded up in a car, in a Chevy Malibu, and drove the distance all the way to Arlington, Texas, spending money that really we weren't quite sure how we were going to get back, and 2 days in a hotel room that I really wasn't sure if this was the best financial investment that I could make. But I will tell you, my second beginning with Advocare Success School has changed my entire world. It has changed my entire focus of what I do in life, and it has really driven me towards my target area that Jenny talked about, which was my kids. Sorry, I get a bit emotional when I talk about it. But at Success School, I sat in the bleachers at Cowboy Stadium as a distributor earning about $1,000 a month, all by myself. Had nobody come with me because I really didn't know how to talk about it or emphasize it, to be honest with you. The month that I left Advocare Success School, my paycheck went from $1,000 a month to $3,000 a month. And to make a long story short, after January of 2013 this year, I've not made less than $10,000 a month with Advocare, and $17,000 was my highest month with Advocare in the month of May. It is such a big emphasis in my life, and I believe in it so much for what it's done for my family and I, that we are now bringing 30 people at the very least from Chicagoland area down to Arlington Stadium. Lives are truly changed there. Advocare is truly what it says it is. The company, the people, everybody is chock full of credibility. If you really want to do something and you really have a goal and you really want to get somewhere, set that target to Arlington, Texas for August 8th through 10th and don't tolerate anything less than that. I sure appreciate the time. I appreciate the training, and I look forward to meeting so many of you down there. Thanks, Danny.
Well, Jeremy, that's incredible. And just two major points that I hope people caught, Jeremy, were, one simple decision. One guy gets in the car with his 3 kids and drives all the way from Chicago, not even really having the finances to do it, and walks out and goes from $1,000 a month to $3,000 a month, in 30 days. Could that be you? Only you can decide that. And then the power of that is really bringing 30 people back the next year with him. So now he's increasing exponentially his business because he understands the power of that one decision and how it can lead to changing 30 other people's lives at the same time. Hey, Jenny, tell these guys what it meant for you too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, that brings back a lot of memories, Jeremy. Thanks for sharing that. So when I heard about Success School from Danny and a couple other people, I already told you guys, I was just like, whatever these people who are, they had a life I wanted. They had freedom. They just literally did. Danny and Diane were living a life that, I didn't know if I could be successful, you guys. I really didn't know if I could be successful at that level, but I was so disgusted. I was like, I'm teachable. What do I need to do? Because my plan is not obviously working. So, the thing too, guys, is the line of intolerance for if you're married can be different between two people. And it was for Bob and I. Bob liked his job. He loved, what he did. He worked really long hours and very loyal and committed, and he wasn't walking on nails every day. And so when I told him I want to go to Success, yeah, go ahead.
He thought he liked his job, Jenny.
Yeah, that's true. He tolerated. Well, and Danny, that's a good point. He was raised a little bit different than I was. He was raised with the mindset of you work for somebody and you get benefits and you get in a field for his family's engineering, and if you get there, you've made it. That was the vision he was cast as a kid, and, nothing against his parents, but that was it. Well, in my family, it was sky's the limit, and if you're unhappy, it's your fault. Okay? So I was raised under this whole thing of like, man, I have way too much, it's I'm the variable, So for him, he kind of thought he'd hit the mark, So I told him, I said, hey, I want to go to Success School. He's like, we don't have any money for that. And so, don't discredit me on this one, but as a newlywed computer and found a Priceline ticket as cheap as I could get and got on an airplane and went anyway. And my whole goal literally was to make my paycheck from Advocare bigger than the boss that was paying my husband. Because I knew the only reason, and Danny's exactly right, the only reason that Bob got up, went to work every day and did that was because the guy, that he was working for writes him a check. And I spend his money. So, I'm on the wrong side of the equation. So I thought, well, I'm just going to make more money than his boss is paying him and to see who wins here. And that's exactly what happened. So going to Success School, I went by myself. And I remember still feeling like, man, I really hope this works for me, but I have to do everything that these successful people have done in order to give myself the best chance. You know, sitting home and complaining about my life won't change my life. It'll just make it worse and it'll feel worse. So I had to do everything I could, and came out of Success School completely changed. I went home and I did not try to get Bob excited about Advocare. There's no way. It's an experience. You know, Bob wasn't sighted in, and I couldn't get him sighted in. And so all I did was decide to do was just apply what I learned at Success School. So 3 months after Success School, you know, we're making over $5,000 a month. By the end of our first year, we're making $10,000 a month. You better believe Bob was out of his job. I mean, quick like. So it turns out it really was a money thing for him. And he found his place in Advocare to a point where it's really, truly his destiny and what he should be doing to change lives in such a great way. But I will tell you this, Danny, I was thinking about my Success School numbers the other day, because really if you're a leader in Advocare, you've made a bullseye for how many people you're getting on your team to Success School, not just for yourself, but if you're a distributor that you're trying to help change their life, if they're sighted in, they're flat out going to be hitting more accuracy and higher goals themselves. Their success rate's going to go up tremendously. And so getting people to Success School is about their success. And so the more people at Success School, the more people I have succeeding, and that's really our goal. So I was thinking about my Success School numbers a couple weeks ago going, this is not okay. You know, for me, I'm intolerant of this number. So, but what can I do? Well, I can get on the horn, start inviting people, looking down my reports, finding people who are enrolled, who aren't, and start making phone calls and do what I can do, which is invite. And one of the things that happened two Success Schools ago actually, you know, I was on a phone call, on a trio phone call with a girl on Tuesday before Success School weekend. So we're talking literally like 4 days. And I was on, she was a prospect. She'd never been on product, but I just asked her, what are you doing this weekend? And she's like, I'm not sure. And I said, well, I'd love for you to be in Dallas, Texas with us. Now, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. She's a single mom that lost her job, doesn't have any money, and I'm asking her to go to Dallas, Texas. Okay, so she says yes. She gets there, tries product for the first time on Saturday. She's been able to be a stay-at-home mom now because of Advocare. I mean, the story is just amazing. You know, for sake of time, I won't tell it all, but she's coming out of this no limits that Advocare has going on right now, and she's making it, and she's going to succeed, but she hasn't missed a Success School, and she went to one based on an invitation from a girl she's never even laid eyes on. You know, she doesn't even know me. I've invited people all the way up until Friday of Success School, and many people have said no. I can't control that, but what I can control is how many people I invite. If I open my mouth, if I make the phone calls I have to make, you know. So I want to just remind everybody on here that you have to always go back to what decisions that I make today that got me closer to the, you know, to the mark I want to hit. And just having this defeated attitude like, well, I guess my numbers are low, oh well, you know, that's never going to change anything. And so, you know, a lot of us have phone calls to make and people to talk to about life and their future, and, you know, it's all about their freedom and their success at this point.
And guys, it all starts with you. And it can be about you, your team as well. So, I mean, there's a variety of people on this phone call, from brand new people to major leaders. But it really is, you know, it first starts with you, and it starts with your tolerance level. And if you're brand new, you know, we can all speak to this because we've all lived it. Jeremy, Jenny, and me and Diane, we've all lived it. We were, you know, we only had $130 when we started our business. So we can speak freely to you about your situation because we haven't forgotten where we came from. But all three of us are on this call with you tonight because we no longer tolerated excuses. You know, it wasn't about the kids. The kids didn't keep us. You know, we did this business for our kids, and because we were doing it for our kids, the kids didn't keep us from getting to Arlington. You know, we did this for money, you know, because I loved coaching football. But I got in this business because I wanted to make more money and get my family out of debt and change my life forever. So not having money wasn't an excuse. I had to, you know, sometimes in order to get what you need to get, you got to get to where you got to get to where you need to get what you want to get. And so if your bullseye is a diamond pin in Advocare, if your bullseye is $10,000 a month, or if your bullseye is $2,500 a month, you know, then Success School is really the very small center of the bullseye. So you got to get to where you need to get what you need to get. And you can't let money stop you. You can't let distance stop you. And the thing is, here's the word picture I want to give you. Here's perspective. You know, right now, just picture yourself just like this. If you were in London, if you had a relative in London a grandfather and a grandmother, and that's where they live. They're British. And something happened, they passed away. They left you the inheritance. And they opened the last will and testament, the trustee reads it, and you're the recipient of $500,000 in their will. But you have to get to London in the next 36 hours. Guess what? You know what? Your kids, there's no excuses. You'll find someone to take care of the kids. If you didn't have the $2,100 for a plane ticket to get to London, you'd find $2,100 to get a plane ticket to London. A distance from, Podunk, USA to London wouldn't matter because you would get there. You'd do whatever it took to get to London to get your $500,000. You would invest whatever you needed to invest to get that $500,000. Well, see, I saw millions. Now, you may not see millions with Advocare, but I got to tell you, you're the variable. So success goal is where, basically that same word picture can come into play. I saw millions, and nothing was going to stop me from getting to success goal because I knew that I was going to capture millions one day through this business. And you've got to decide what you see here, what your why is, and if this is really going to work for you, you've got to find a way to have no tolerance for really what you want out of this, and it's going to have to include success goal. So whatever would be keeping you, other than a serious commitment to God and a serious commitment to your family that you just can't get out of. It's worth being at success goal on August 9th, 10th, and 11th. And so we encourage you tonight to make that decision. It's going to be important. It could be a game changer for you. Jenny, any last thoughts or comments?
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking, Dan, is that there's a lot of new people on here. You said that you set out, because you saw millions, because you're going to capture millions one day. And I know there's a lot of people on here that obviously know your story, but maybe I'll just share it. You guys did capture millions. That's already happened. A lot of times people say, I want to sit down and pick your brain and, tell me all your success secrets. You've been a multimillionaire, and tonight I think you've already shared exactly what you guys did. Of course, there's more training to that, but I just want everybody to know that it's become a reality of what Jeremy wanted, what you wanted, what Bob and I wanted, and boy, those investments that we thought were so big at the time have paid dividends to us, and that's what we want for everybody else. Absolutely.
And so I'll just wrap this call up, and so I can send you guys off for the night. But we could have sat around here and talked about AT&T Stadium and how glorious, the biggest, the most attractive football stadium in America, if not the world today. We could have talked about Jerry World. We could have talked about the biggest TV screen probably in the nation. I don't know if there's a bigger one in the world. We could have talked about all the bells and whistles of that and all the hoopla surrounding that, because that's the venue. And we've seen that since, for years. Our first success goal was at the Arlington Convention. One of our first success goals was at the Arlington Convention Center, which is just, about a half a mile away. And we do team meetings there now and still can't even get enough room for our team meetings. And we used to always say, that we'd be in stadiums one day. And here we are. And we're having our second success goal at AT&T Stadium. But really, none of that really matters. What matters is your why. And what matters is if you've got a vision for your future in Advocare, whether we had it at AT&T Stadium or whether we had it at the Holiday Inn in Dallas or whether we had it, at the Arlington Convention Center, you would get here because of the necessity to get the equipping and the training that is going to be provided to you so that you can achieve your goals and hit the mark with Advocare. So with that said, we encourage you, make sure tonight, do whatever you can to make sure you go to Advocare.com, to your microsite, and get registered for Success Goal and make your plans. Or go to SuccessGoal.net and register on SuccessGoal.net and get logged in, get registered, and make your plans. And do whatever it takes because we believe it's going to be a game changer for you. Thanks for joining us. Take care, and God bless you.